Hi, everybody, and welcome to Devotions. It's Monday again, and I pray the week will be a great one for you. You remember My Fair Lady, that old play and movie? Henry Higgins, the professor, was trying to teach this Cockney girl Eliza how to speak English properly. And particularly, he wanted to get her H's right. So one of the songs in My Fair Lady is about just that. And he gives her this phrase: in Hertford, Hereford, and Hampshire, hurricanes hardly happen. 6 H's that you had to get right. Well, I'd like to refer to 5 H's this morning that are an important part of our Christian living. And the first one is the H for hunger. The psalmist writes in Psalm 43, at the beginning of the psalm, "As the deer pants for streams of water, my soul pants for you, my God. My soul thirsts for God, for the living God." George Herbert, the old poet, wrote what I think is a wonderful poem called The Pulley. And the reason he calls it the pulley is because God gave us everything we needed, but he left one thing out, and that was peace, or rest, as he calls it. And the reason he did that is because the only place we find peace is in him. So when we are without peace, we draw near to God. You see the story of the prodigal son, how he had spent all his father's living, and here he was with nothing. He was eating what the pigs were eating, and there was that deep, deep restlessness in his soul, and that drew him to his father. So the first one is to recognize the hunger in our hearts. The next one is to hold firm. In Thessalonians, the first letter of Thessalonians, Paul writes, "Hold on to what is good. Test everything." In other words, hold on to God's way, remembering that he holds you very close to himself. God's way, Paul said the most important things are faith, to continue trusting God, hope, to turn to him at all times of your life, the good and the tough times, knowing there's always a way forward. And most of all, he said the important one is love, to be able to express the love of God, to hold firm to what is good. And then honesty. Paul writes in Romans chapter 12, and he's writing in verse 3, "Do not think of yourself more highly than you should. Think of yourself with sober judgment." In other words, be honest with yourself. Be honest with God about who you are, what you struggle with, what you love, what you enjoy, and to know yourself, to know what strengths there are, what part of your lives are actually a bit of a battle for you sometimes. You remember Peter, he promised Jesus that he would even go and die with him, and that he loved him more than the other disciples even. And what happened? He denied his Lord, and the reason was because he didn't take account of his own weakness. He didn't really know himself. So that's the third one. And the fourth H is happiness. Paul gives a command in his letter to the Philippians. He says, "Rejoice in the Lord always. And again I say, rejoice." Well, there are tough things that happen in life, and it's difficult to be praising and rejoicing and being happy. But Paul says here, because he himself went through some terribly tough times, he says, "Rejoice in the Lord," so that even in our bereavement, even in the pain of our illnesses, we can know that the Lord is there, and we can rejoice and find happiness in our souls because of his presence with us. And the last one, the fifth H, is hasten, or hurry. In Psalm 119, in verse 60, the psalmist writes, "I will hasten and not delay to obey your commands." In other words, we need to get on with following Jesus. Let there be an urgency and an enthusiasm about serving him. Let's get on with being his witnesses, and to do so energetically, without delay. So, as you practice your 5 H's, I pray that you will be blessed, and that you will know the happiness and the blessing of God in your life. May the Lord go with you. Bye for now.